One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Turnkey Search Managing Director Gene DeFilippo is back on One Question. Gene, we are a couple of weeks now clear of the Greg Byrne hire at Alabama, which you guys were an influential part of. And where I want to start this conversation is now that you've completed Alabama, that's on your all's resume. If a president comes to you and now says, hey, Gene, we really like what you guys did at Alabama. We certainly like how quiet it was kept. What's your response to them on the ingredients that need to be in place in order to keep a search that quiet and executed that cleanly?
Well, let's begin going back to last summer and last spring. Coach Battle told Dr. Stuart Bell, president at the University of Alabama, that he was going to retire in after his contract was over here in June of 17. And Coach had done a fabulous job at Alabama, just like he did when he was the head football coach at the University of Tennessee, and also the great job that he did in leading collegiate licensing. So when he decided that he was going to retire, Dr. Bell contacted us and asked us if we could help him to vet some candidates that would be, that would be interested in the Alabama search. We kept it very, very quiet, and nobody suspected that Alabama was looking for a director of athletics, although a lot of people knew that Coach Battle was getting ready to retire, and he had said that he wanted to be there for 4 years. And so we vetted some candidates, and we met, and Dr. Bell and Finest St. John, they were working hand in hand with us. They decided that the best candidate for them was Greg Byrne. And on Sunday night, Coach Battle met with the media, and he told the media that he'd planned to retire. He had told Dr. Bell that back in the late spring. And the next day, Greg Byrne was named Director of Athletics at Alabama. So it was under the radar. It was really a great way to handle things. And I have to commend Dr. Bell and Finest St. John for the way in which they went about this. I thought it was a real home run on their part.
And so is one piece of the story here simply the raw number of people who are involved behind the scenes, the fewer the better?
Well, without question, the fewer the better. Because when you get too many people involved, big search committees of 16 members or 18 members, it's really hard to keep things quiet. And what happens a lot of times is that you lose some of the great candidates because they're sitting athletic directors at great institutions, and they're alumni, they're fans. They don't want them interviewing for other positions. And every alum thinks that his or her school is among the best, and that's what they should think. So it's got to be quiet. Otherwise, you're going to lose some of the really, really good candidates that are sitting ADs out there.
Yeah, and at the time of this recording, we are chatting on February the 2nd, and just in the last calendar year, the last 365 days, you guys have completed Michigan at the Power 5 level. You did Minnesota, Georgia Tech, Alabama. Now you have Tennessee on your plate.
We've had a very good year, and we're just hanging in there and hoping that it'll continue.
Connecting to the quiet nature in which the Alabama deal went down, when you are inside a search and you're actively working on a job opening, do you pay attention to the media at all? Do you pay attention to what's being said? And certainly D1 Ticker covers a lot of that stuff about job openings, and specifically the Power 5 level. People love to read about it. But do you kind of just wall yourself off to what's going on in the media during a search?
I'll tell you, I do the opposite of what I did when I was a director of athletics. As an AD, I often said that the worst thing that an athletic director can do is watch it on TV, listen to it on the radio, or read it in the papers. Because if you get caught up in a lot of that, it really makes it tougher for you to do your job. In the search business, I read all the time what's out there. I go and read the local papers. Of course, the first thing I do in the morning is I read the D1 ticker. And so I stay abreast of that just so that I know, what other people are thinking in the search. And I do get lots of calls from the media, but I never return one of those calls. I don't have to. I'm working for the institution. And if any of the media want to know what's going on, they can contact someone at the institution, but we're not going to answer media calls.
Yeah, that makes sense. One thing that I've been talking to others about lately and kind of been wondering about is we hear commonly when a position comes open that somebody with a revenue generation background, whether it's fundraising or marketing and ticket sales, somebody with that kind of background is needed in a certain situation because of the financial pressures of college athletics and higher education these days. But and this kind of harkens back to your time as an AD, but the end goal for an athletic director is what? Is to educate and graduate student athletes. And those two things, generating funds and educating and graduating student athletes, they're not mutually exclusive of one another, but how would you suggest athletic directors in today's age balance the two?
Well, there's a difference in institutions. Some institutions have to work harder at generating revenue than do others. And there's probably a handful of institutions out there that can balance the budget with no additional help. So that's the first thing that you look for as an athletic director. An athletic director at a school with $170 or $180 million budget may not need to do as much fundraising as another institution that is not able to generate that much money. Then it's what you're comfortable with as an athletic director. Some ADs want to go to every event that the student athletes compete in. They want to take time and spend, considerable time during the day with the student athletes. And then there's others, on the other hand, that have to be gone so much in order to generate revenue. I think you need to find a balance. You need to find a balance somewhere in the middle where you can spend some time with the student athletes, where you can spend time with your coaches, understand what's going on. Because if you're not on campus, there's certain things that can get away from you that coaches might be doing or athletes might be doing. So you've got to be there some. But on the other hand, you have to be gone too, because having revenue is also a way of taking care of the student athlete. You want to have the revenue to build facilities. You want to have the revenue to provide scholarships. You want to have the revenue to provide the full cost of attendance for those students. So there's a balance in there. Every institution's different. Every director of athletics is different, but you've got to find a balance to get it done.
And that's today's one question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.